Hi everybody, welcome back. Hope you had a good week. It's a good week here. Do a well, I don't know how quick it is, but I'm gonna do a video. Somebody asked me about colognes going bad and evaporating and stuff like that. Asked me if they do or if I've ever had a problem with them, and the short answer is no. He said I have some old stuff. I should have some old stuff from back in the day, and I do. I've got a few bottles here. This is reviews or anything. Not even getting any notes, anything like that. Do they go bad? In my personal dealings, whatever you want to say, with no, they really don't. These bottles here are minimum 20 years old. Some of them are 30. Some of them are even a little older than that, I think. But not by much. So we'll say most of them are at least 20 years old. Some of them are 30. And I've had no problem with them at all. Save for one, and I'll save that for the last. The first one is my old ass bottle of Fahrenheit. You see, I have very little left. Very little of that left. Bought this in either 96 or 97. So that would make it 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That would make it 25, almost 26 years old now. And not a problem with it. Next bottle I even got earlier than that. This would have been 94-ish, I believe. I know the little Davidoff hand signatures kind of. This one's so old it came right out of Snoop Dogg's fucking gym bag. Johnson baby powder and cool water cologne, and you see not a problem with it. Not a problem at all. Next one is opium. I'm not too sure how long I had this one. But like I said, it's at least 20 years old. Oh, geez, that's nice. When I smell it, I want to wear it. But as you can tell, not an issue. Not an issue at all. This is OP Blend. I guess it's pretty collectible now. I don't know. But other than it, this fucking silicone plastic thing starting to... and that breaking on me and just getting nasty. No problem with the juice inside. Fendi Umo. Pretty sure this one is 35 plus years old. Could be completely wrong. But the clone is there. I mean, I got it about 20 years ago, about 2000. So no, 22 years ago, 2000, 2001. So 21, 22 years ago, and not a damn issue. Candy is another one I got in like 96 or 7, somewhere around there. Another one that's pretty expensive, I guess. And this one doesn't even have a cap. I don't know where the fuck cap went, but no issues. None. Adidas Moves, another one I got in like 94. If I'm not mistaken, or 95, somewhere around there. Maybe early 96, but there's another one I like. A lot of people don't, but I do. It's the weird tomato thing. This one is one of the ones my nan got me, I believe in the early 90s. And it's one of my favorites. Very little of it left. The new stuff isn't as good, so I'm kind of savoring that. Same as this. I've got like one wearing of this left. The Aspen from back around the same time, I believe. Yeah, I've got maybe one wearing. You can't even see the juice, but I can see just a little bit when I do this. So maybe one wearing of it left. Then I have to use the new stuff, which doesn't last as long. I do have a backup bottle of this from way back in the day. Another 20 years at least. Versace blue jeans. Nothing wrong with it, as you can see. And the only one that really had an issue with me was my jupe. It's still reddish, but on camera it looks even more red. But in the light here, it's almost gone a brown. And that was because I always had this one for some reason. sitting next to a windowsill or on a windowsill in the bathroom. I didn't wear it a lot, as you can tell. I got it, again, 97, maybe. No, even longer before that, 95-ish, somewhere around there. And, yeah, other than the smell, or other than the color being off because of the sunlight, I'm assuming the UV is getting in through the glass. The performance, the smell, still perfectly fine. Yeah. So what I think it is, as long as it's crimped right, I don't know if you can see the crimping on that. As long as it's crimped right, or the crimp underneath the collar is still on, you can, I mean, it's just personal. Like I said, stuff like this is personal. You might disagree. And I knew a buddy who threw colognes out on the best before date. I know a couple guys in the community, just what they say. I don't know if it's true. I don't know them, but they throw their cologne out every couple of years. That's ridiculous. Or every few years. That's ridiculous. The shit's too expensive to be buying fucking a bottle and throwing it out 2 years later. I mean, most bottles aren't going to last the average person 2 years anyway, because they've got 1, 2, maybe 3 cologne. And they're using it daily. Most people have 1. So with most designer scents, even the cheap designers, you know, you get cheap preferred stock and candies and the Cody ones, the Adidas ones, and then you've got the, well, they were expensive, remember, at the time. You know, the Dupe, the Fendi, the Cool Water, definitely the Dior, and the YSL. They're all going to be fine. They're all going to be fine. I would recommend not storing them in direct sunlight, simply because this happened. And I don't know if I hadn't got it out of the sunlight, if something would have happened to the juice. It's a possibility. I'm no chemist, never claimed to be. Yeah. So now, with the cheaper stuff I have, the dupes and everything, I've had 3 of them do it to me. Evaporate. And that's because, I mean, I don't know, you won't be able to see it on here, but that's fucking crimped horribly. It's crooked, crimped horribly. And the juice just evaporates. I mean, look at this. This is the color of this, first off. It's almost a milk now. Viscous. Viscous. And no, it ain't supposed to be like that. It was clear when I bought it. So that's just the evaporation. I mean, it actually coats, look. See if you can see it better here. Coats the inside of the bottle when you do that. I had this one and 2 other ones from cheap dupe lines do it to me. But even then, I've got like 100, 150 cheap dupes. So 3 out of 100 or 150, that's either 3% or 1.5%. That's not a bad ratio for $4 a piece. I'll take that chance. Is that to say none of the cheap dupes I have are going to do it to me in the next few weeks or next year? No, I don't know. Maybe, probably. But they're cheap dupes. So who cares? I'll just buy a new one. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on, like I said, the only one I had a problem with, actually, was the opium, not this one, obviously, it was either eau de parfum or just parfum, and that was the fault of my own. For those of you who don't know, it looked like this bottle, like the same cap and everything, but it was red this was clear. And I dropped it one day. I didn't have a cap because I bought a tester. And I dropped it one day and the collar came off. And the crimping underneath, I could almost move it back and forth. And it took about a year. It evaporated on me, which was sad because by the time I went to get a new one, everybody wanted it. It was expensive. Bastards. So that's the only one designer I've ever had do that. And that was my own fault. Well, not my own fault. I didn't do it on purpose. But I mean, it was the fault of something that I did, i.e. dropping it. Performance, like I said, these are 20, 30 years old. They still perform as good as the day I bought them. Each and every one of them. And I've got even more old ones, obviously. But these are just dozen or so I grabbed. Yeah, so to answer your question, no. Not in my experience. I mean, you've got people out there now buying 30, 40-year-old bottles of, Fahrenheit. I mean, and then, original bottles of, although it's not as old, but La Nuit alone, it's like 10, 15 years old now. I mean, and they're spending top dollar for these candies. And this one goes for a pretty penny now. And this one goes for a pretty penny now. And this little bottle of Fahrenheit from like 95, 6, 7, I can't remember, it would go for a pretty penny. I mean, because they just, it's like saying, oh, the alcohol's going to evaporate. But yes, but hundreds of years from now, it's like a bottle of wine. The best wines in the world, I'm not being a wine drinker, just from what I've read and whatnot and seen, are 200-300-year-old bottles of wine worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they had cork caps. And the alcohol didn't evaporate too much in them. So, yeah, I mean, other than the crimping and the collars being cheaply made, or you dropping them, they should be fine for you. They should outlive us. I mean, honestly. Well, you said you were a young buck, but they should probably still outlive you. Yeah. So, just keep them under the sun. I'd recommend if you have the boxes, keep them in the boxes. That's the only reason I keep mine in the boxes. Because what happened to this fucker. And I keep them under the sun now. Yeah, that's it. I mean, hope it was helpful, informative. I don't have too much more to say. Peace, love, be good to each other. And just a PSA, I forgot to mention, this is me a couple hours later. I forgot to mention splash bottles. Because maybe you were asking about splash bottles. I don't know. But I have a lot of splash bottles. I have especially aftershaves. And they're mostly alcohol. And I have some that are, again, 20, 25 years old that haven't evaporated yet. So usually with a splash cologne, not so much an aftershave, although Old Spice does it. With a splash cologne, you have a stopper that goes in the hole that keeps it from evaporating. And you can give it a little push in it, and you're fine. My colognes, let's see what colognes. I have a Fahrenheit aftershave. I have, that's about as old as my Fahrenheit. And that's perfectly fine. No problems with it. Obsession by Calvin Klein. I have a splash. Had that for years. That's fine. And again, all my aftershaves, like I said, I've got some that are my dad had, for God's sakes. So they're 35, 40 years old now. And they're perfectly fine. If anything, they might be a little better than the new stuff. So anyway, yeah, just an update. I forgot to mention it, but yeah, splashes, same thing. As long as you take care of them, store them right. And by store them right, cool, dry is best. If you live in a hot, humid climate, it might be hard. But maybe if you have a basement closet, something like that. Just keep them out of direct sunlight. Look what happened to my tube. Still wears fine, but just looks funky. Alright guys, again, peace, love, be good to each other.